Hi, everybody, of the Linguist List. This is Jeff Allen, and I want to support the Linguist List with this video, kind of a testimony. I've been on the Linguist List advisory panel for since 2005, and then also on the board of the eLinguistics Foundation, which is the supervisory board, kind of the mother organization for Linguist List. And I've been doing that since I think it's 2013, if I recall correctly here. So it's nearly a decade. And so for both of these organizations, been very involved from not since the beginning, but for a long period of time. And I'm wearing my Linguist List T-shirt, yes, because we had swag in the past. Yes, we had swag and merch. We can get this back again. So this year in 2022 is the fund drive theme is the return of the field linguist. Again, what that does is that kind of brings to the return of the Jedi, right? And what I want to say is that the Jedi never left, okay? So the field linguist in me has never left. I've been doing this for 3 decades, and I want to tell the story of that. And so get a coffee, get a cup of tea. I want to tell the story. This isn't going to be a 2-minute pitch. I want to tell the story because I think this is really important, how it's been affected my life and my career, my whole life, because I've lived half of my life overseas. So it's not part of just doing field work. It's life, daily life with my family, with what I do on a daily basis, and in my professional life as well. So, I mean, I was trained in all the areas of theoretical and applied linguistics, and I have taught linguistics courses, including phonetics and phonology and morphology and syntax and semantics and pragmatics and first and second language acquisition. What else have I taught? But the sociolinguistics courses were the funnest, and that's I think that's what has marked my career. And everything that I've done, not in my career, but everything I do, has been really focused on the sociolinguistics aspect of it. And for at least 3 decades. And right now, you can see, I'm going to show here, I'm in a restaurant, right? So you can see here, I'm in a restaurant. So this is where I do my field work, right? One of the places I do my field work. Sometimes I do it in subways and trains. Sometimes I do it, in fact, this morning, I was going to come and get some gas for my car, but because there's a strike right now happening with all the trucks that deliver the gas, the fuel. There's a lineup of cars right now, and I should have maybe sat in my car and with the 30 cars lined up and done some field work on all the swear words you can get in French and modern French, right? So, from all these people in the cars, right? No, I decided not to do this. I had to come to the restaurant and do another one. So, we could have done that. So, but I just want to talk about the how field work has been, part of my career and for my life for 30 years. 30 plus years, actually. So 1989 was the first year I came to France. I already had a bachelor's degree in French, and I came here and I had a fellowship to teach English for a year. And I was in the summer camp in the summer. I started this year in the summer camp as a youth counselor. And what I did was I took some paper and I cut them up to a little kind of square things like that, and I folded it over and stapled it. So I had this little teeny book. I don't have it here. I can't find it right now, but when I can, it'll be really fun. And what I did in that summer is every time I heard new words I didn't know, and I spoke French fluently already, but every one of these words I didn't know, I'd write them in this little teeny book, right? And everybody during that summer camp, they were always watching, including my future family-in-law. And so my father-in-law future father-in-law at that point, was just really interested in helping give more words to that personal dictionary, right? And so I would listen to all these people this summer camp, and I did the whole summer of summer camps of kids and families, and that little book filled up really fast, just quickly filled up. And one of the summer counselors, she was a nurse. She gave me a book. She dedicated me a dedicated book of the kind of the French books and verb conjugation stuff. It got dedicated to me after that summer, and so that kind of started this whole thing, right? Of doing field work. I mean, it's probably doing it before I didn't realize, but this is when I started. Then I had in 1992, I had this little calendar, right? My agenda book, and in there, 1992, I started writing down all the occurrences of each time that I heard someone in French, because I live in France, I was in the subway or in the street or whatever, or in my family, I was going to get married, and so in the family, I'd be hearing these sentences, right? I'd be noting every time only, and the thing is I was always looking for it. And I didn't tell anybody, right? Until to my fiance one day, she said, "What are you doing?" Because she could see that I was writing down in my thing like 10 minutes after the conversation, because I was trying to memorize, I tried to keep the sentence in my mind until everyone was finished way after, and I'd write it down, right? And so she would, "What are you doing?" So I had to tell her that I was analyzing, or I was writing down, making my observations of the difference between the verb réaliser and se rendre compte de ou se rendre compte que. And that's basically the verb to realize, to be aware, to realize, not the one to realize to complete, but the one to be aware of, and things like that. And so I had this at the end of the entire year. I wrote it. I took all those, wrote it down in a Word document. Right, it was like 4 pages of entries. I never wrote an article on it. Never wrote a paper on it. But I've talked about it for years. Those examples and the kind of the key differentiator and what's the easy way to classify it. It's just so simple. But so I kind of gives an idea of, I was doing data collection in the subways and the trains and family discussions and whatever, and noting down who were the informants, what they were, the date, what the exact sentence they said verbatim, and all that, and trying to have some information so I could write a paper on it, or a conference paper, or something, whatever, or maybe a thesis topic. I didn't know at that point, right? Then in 1993, December 1993, I have right here my cassette tape collection from that period of time, and I have right here 3 audio cassettes of the interviews that I conducted in St. Lucian French lexicon Creole, not the English lexicon Creole, of St. Lucia and Dominica, and I have it's in here, interview with, and I can't say the name, right, because I got 3 names here, and if I say it, then I've violated my informant stuff, right? So my interviews with informant 1, informant 2, informant 3 of St. Lucian Creole, December 12th and December 13th of 1993. So that's been 3 decades ago, right? And so that was doing field research based on text that I had found, and then I had found these words that in English words I found in the French lexicon Creole, and I want to go to interviews to actually see if the people really used them out in spontaneous discussions. So, and I was kind of guided discussions, and so I've done the whole thesis. That thesis gave all the results of what I found, right? But now there's a lot more data in there that people could use for other stuff. So I need to convert these to like MP3 files, right? So I can give all this data away. So that's another possible field work for those of you want to do some additional stuff and have data of some field work already done. So that was in 1993. Then in 1997 and 1998, Carnegie Mellon University called me and said that they wanted me to come work on some speech translation system projects for them, mainly for Haitian Creole, but then I got there and we were working on Korean and for Bosnian, Serbian, Croatian as well. And then we started in Arabic. And so we did a lot of speech. We did text creation of databases. I had a bunch of people doing translation work of the Newswire, but we actually did speech data collection as well, and had 150 Haitian Creole speakers, and I got 400 Korean speakers to participate in this. So we had a wide variety of speakers doing I don't want to go into how we did it, right? But just there, we got another video on that, right? So I don't want to go into the details. But we did have we wrote up a lot of papers, conference papers, and talks at AMTA and LREC and Eurospeech and International Conference for Phonetic Sciences. Let's see, is another one here, Études Créole. So go read those papers and those those publications stuff to see how I did analysis on the data collection, right, that we use for the system, for the speech system, the speech and translation system. But I think one of the key ones was one of the fun papers that we finished up on that was, or two papers that we did. The one was on the sociolinguistic analysis of orthography for all the different spelling systems of Haitian Creole and the difficulties of doing that when you're creating a text and speech system, including OCR, scanning. And another one was on the analysis of the speech data of saying, was there one or two or three phonemes for R and W in Haitian Creole. So that's a lot of fun stuff. Again, field work, speech data collection in really adverse environments with lots of background noise. I mean, lots of worse background noise in here. And hey, if you go out there, you can do speech data collection. You're going to get a lot of background noise. Okay, that's reality. It's real life, folks. And listen to all the linguists that do this, right? All the fieldwork linguists. They all tell about, you go deaf because you're hearing the birds and stuff and all the out in the forest, right? And so it's and I knew a lot of field linguists that had spent 20 years out in the forest, and they couldn't hear the sounds anymore because it was so much sounds, right? So it was a lot of stuff, and you get out and you do field work, you get rain and stuff, everything, right? People talk about this, so I was getting roosters cockle-doodle-doodling, in the background that we're doing the speech data collection. They have to do for a speech system, right? A speech system. So, and cars, you can hear the horns of the cars and honking and stuff, right? No, and stuff. So we had a lot of fun with that. So that was the mid 1990s. Then in 1998 to 2000, I was at the technical director of all the production projects of all the data, the language resources or language data. What do you want to call these things, right? These language databases for the European Language Resources Association and its distribution agencies called ELRA and ELDA. So it's the equivalent of the Linguistics Data Consortium at Penn, but in Europe. So it's kind of mandated by the European Commission to do all these data production projects. So language data production projects of speech data and text data and terminology data and all that. So I kind of led that for 2 years, CTO, and there we did some speech data collection, really well organized speech data collection for like in-home recordings and in-vehicle recordings for speech data collection for, I think we did that for 10 languages, and I led the US one, and then kind of helped in the French one, other one stuff. So that was really annotated data, really cool. That's when you have money to do things, right? And you get the time to do it, and you're annotating because you have to be able to analyze the speech, right? So you got to use this for training data to build speech systems. Then on the other end, I mean, a couple of years later, that was 1990 and 2000, right? Then in 2001 to 2006, I had to switch fields, and I went and worked in the wireless telecom mobile cell phone technology at MyCom, working on software that does network optimization of all your cell phones, right? So, and the exchanges on all the phone calls and the SMS messages, and how to route that data so that you don't have kind of roadblocks and traffic jams of the data, right? So your call doesn't drop, or if your SMS doesn't go through. So I worked in that for those 5 years, and that was a different. That was like, this was annotated data, fully automated annotated data, because it's the system that's managing it, right? And that was so cool because I compared it back with the earlier part of my career and now I'm looking back now, hindsight, going back a few decades, that that we have in the linguistics, that side is annotated data, right? But on the linguistic side, or the authoring side or translation side of the fence, we're dealing with a data oceans, not data lakes, which we call it in data, computational linguistics, we call it data lakes, but I'm calling data oceans here. And it's a data collection dilemma because it's not on annotated data, right? So the problem is that we're all swimming in this data oceans of language data all day long, and doing collection of this of people that are swimming in data. They're living in language data all day long, all night long, and it's non-annotated. So one of the things that we struggle with, and which Daniel Benito has said in a LinkedIn post 2 days ago, October 10th, that the difficulty of chatbots is how to deal with non-annotated data and dealing with all sentiment analysis, right? So this is really important thing for linguistics, folks, and the field work, having all this data that we're collecting in corpora, whatever you want to call this, we only annotated a small bit of it, and this is kind of the dilemma or the challenge, right? And having worked in, like I said, in telecom, where it's all annotated, that was really easy compared to this. So that was that was the early to mid 2000s. And then 2002, at the same time, I wrote an article on in Multilingual Computing and Technology magazine. It's called Multilingual Magazine Today. And that one was about working with the French. And that was based on, it was kind of a cultural one, talking about culture and all that, and talking the pros and cons of the French compared to when you get into internet, when you get in conflict with other cultures. And that was all based on 15 years of having been, living in France, married to a French woman, having a family, and everything. And that was based on that data collection, right, of just cultural aspects, not just language. And then that kind of led on this year in 2014 to now, I'll say, where I've been producing video series. You can call it video books, what do you want to call these things, up on my YouTube channel. And some of them are kind of, they're all based on, let's call them daily field work in these different cultures, both in work and at home and in different charities and institutions or nonprofit associations or whatever in different locations. And some of them are about cross-cultural awareness and subcultural awareness, sociolinguistics, right? And conflict resolution across cultures. So there's a bunch of those on that for breaking down culture. And then I got another video series on this cool book on data quality evaluation, the simplified approach. So it's up there on my YouTube channel too. Another series on the value of language in the language field. And I got another one coming up on organizational change management and transformation and all kinds of things, and management and leadership and politics and all that kind of stuff. But these are kind of, it's all sociolinguistics, right? It's field work. That's what's contributed to making these books and kind of having a lot of fun doing this. And kind of sum up here, kind of finishing up 2022. I've been playing as a musician for 40 years. I've been a musician for 4 decades in a lot of bands and groups, in big bands, small bands, restaurants, retirement homes, Christmas caroling, whatever. And that has led to a new video series, which I've been doing specifically on the relationship between music and language. And how first language acquisition and how that relates to literacy and language acquisition, and how we can compare the linguistic and language aspects of it when you learn language as a first language or as a second language, and how that, and literacy and all that, and learning reading and writing, how that kind of corresponds to music, whereas playing music and the learning to read and write music. So I've got a new series of videos on that, as well as ones on, and this is where the whole fieldwork thing comes into play, is customer, kind of the music audience feedback, or let's say the user engagement or entertainment, musical event entertainment, and how user feedback, or I don't want to user, the audience feedback contributes to and helps become a key factor for measuring quality, and the quality of the data, or the quality of your event, and how that compares to how we actually interact with that as language speakers or as musicians or whatever we want to call this. And all this fits into discourse analysis too, right? You have discourse analysis in speech, you have discourse analysis of text, and you have discourse analysis of music. So I've been talking about this for 20 minutes and kind of telling my testimony, but I think the fun part of it, and that's why I'm supporting Linguist here and LINGUIST-List and talking about it, is that this has been, my career. It's been my life. I've lived overseas for half my life. I got all my gray hair in France, not in America, and so and it's been a fun journey. And as a linguist, it's a lifelong journey, because as a linguist, you can't abandon language, right? It's impossible, because you're doing it all day long. You're swimming in the data ocean every day, and you cannot remove that, right? It's not like you can quit a job and stop doing something. I'm not doing telecom anymore, right? And so I'm not doing that thing anymore. Whereas I still have the knowledge, but language, you can't get rid of it. It's always going to be there, whatever language you're thinking in or dreaming in or whatever. So this is something you can't get rid of. It's going to continue on. And fieldwork is something we do every day, because we're immersed in some culture somewhere. So support Linguist-List. Thanks for your donations, and thanks for all your support for helping us help students continue to make this happen, for providing a service to the entire community. Thanks so much.